Hey everybody, thank you very much for tuning in this evening. Happy freaking Monday. Another opportunity for you to be great. I hope you guys are all having an excellent start to the week. I am thrilled, ecstatic to have all three of these stellar discussions to share with you this week. That's right, tonight, Wednesday night and Thursday night, all at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we are breaking down key strategies and I'm sharing nuggets of knowledge with you about that troublesome and challenging period when transitioning from a diet to a maintenance phase. You know, for 2, 3, maybe 4 months, we're so focused on the scale. And then all of a sudden it's like, shit, weight loss isn't the goal anymore. Now what? You start playing mind games with yourself, the scale goes like this, and it can really lead to a terrible path. And I'm here this week and next week, actually, another 3 sessions dedicated to this topic to share with you tons of knowledge and strategies that you can implement right away and share with friends to help them overcome the challenges mentally and physically when transitioning from a dieting phase to a maintenance phase. But hey, before we get started, please give this thing a like if you're excited about what we're talking about. And in the comments section below, if you've had peanut butter today, please type in a duh in all capital letters. That's right. If you've had peanut butter, type duh below because you know that's my favorite food and I encourage you to enjoy it every opportunity you get. So without further ado, let's jump in. Tonight, we're talking about the number one or the worst mistake you can make when transitioning out of a diet phase and into maintenance. Now, this is something I've seen with hundreds of people I've worked with and with hundreds of people that have come to me with questions about why things just, for lack of better words, suck after transitioning from a diet. And I'm going to start, before I explicitly announce this mistake, telling you a story to characterize just how bad it can be and how it can have a negative impact in the short and the long term. So 5 years ago, I prepared for my first ever bodybuilding competition. I shared a little bit of that story, it's a fun story, with you last week when I was sharing a little bit about myself and my personal journey. And after I did my bodybuilding competitions, I did 2, 4 weeks apart from one another, I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. This is by far the leanest I had ever been. Joe, so happy you've had your peanut butter today. Wayne, I'm sure you've had yours too. Now, anywho, stuck between a rock and a hard place. I was as lean as I'd ever been, and I had no more shows on the horizon, and I was a freaking twig. I knew I had to get much, much bigger, put on significant muscle mass if I had any dream or aspiration of being slightly competitive in a natural bodybuilding competition in the future. But I loved seeing my abs. I loved all of these veins and striations I had seen. But simultaneously, I was eating a very low amount of calories. It took a ton of cardio and a very little amount of calories to get me as lean as I had got. And I don't remember the numbers, but for simplicity's sake, let's say I was eating 1,500 calories a day after what surmounted to be 22 weeks of dieting. Well, confused, uncertain, stressed, I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to eat the whole freaking house and then some, but the other part of me wanted to maintain how lean I was. And at the time, I really struggled with this. In hindsight, I know maintaining stage leanness is not sustainable, nor is it healthy. I clocked in at 5.6% body fat on my second show day via a bod pod test. So what I would do is, I followed I upped my calories slightly as I transitioned out of my second bodybuilding competition. And from there, I implemented a free meal, a cheat meal, whatever you want to call it. Big fan of free meal myself. I don't like cheating. That doesn't apply. You eat healthy, you eat sustainably for life. Anywho, once a week I had this free meal. And it was a complete mind game with myself because my weight would stay even keel during the week and then all of a sudden spiked up after a free meal and I kind of had the oh shit response. The next 2, 3, even 4 days, I was weighing myself daily back then. My weight was all of a sudden up here when the last week it had been down here. So it's down, 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 up, and it would slowly come back down. Well, As you can imagine, that process repeated itself, and every weekend I had a great meal and didn't give a crap about tracking calories, and my weight jumped up. I became fearful, legitimately scared to ever increase my calories because I knew I didn't want to lose my abs. I didn't want to get fat. You know, it's just a vicious cycle of, oh, I'm in a good spot. Oh shit, my scale jumps up. I'm scared. If I eat any more, my weight's going to go up even further, and I'm definitely not going to see the abs, striations, and veins I once had any longer. So fast forward 6, 8, 10 weeks later, I'm still eating the same 1,500 calories per day with that one weekly free meal. What have I done? Absolutely nothing beneficial for myself. And why is that? Well, let's discuss briefly what actually happens during a dieting phase. You know, it's important to recognize that dieting is a physical and psychological stress on the body. And your body views the stress as, priority number one. It wants to get rid of it. So as you eat less, your body works very hard to conserve more and more energy or calories. And some of the ways it does that are, number one, it reduces your resting metabolic rate, your basal metabolic rate, meaning the number of calories you were going to burn in a single day if you were just to lie in bed for 24 hours. Oh, hey, Ryan, thanks for joining. That number decreases. So let's say, for again, an arbitrary example, you're used to burning 1,800 calories a day. All of a sudden, you're going to decrease, and you may only be burning 1,500 calories a day. Well, both you and I know that if you want to lose weight, you need to be taking in fewer calories than you're burning. Well, this decrease in your resting metabolic rate makes it even harder to lose weight. That means you have to further reduce calories, further increase cardio. Ooh, did you look at that? Ooh, now I'm dancing all of a sudden. Anywho, back to it, and you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Another diet-induced adaptation. You start to burn less calories or fewer calories when you eat. Typically, what's called your thermic effect of food, you actually burn calories eating food. It takes energy to digest, absorb, and distribute the nutrients that you're eating. Well, now that level goes down, and you burn fewer calories during the day because you're fatigued. You have a lot less fidgeting, pacing, or tapping of the finger or foot during the day, again, because your body's trying to conserve energy. So at the end of the day, during a diet, your body is working from multiple angles to reduce the number of calories you burn. Well, that means you're eating fewer and fewer calories, your body's burning fewer and fewer calories, and you're just in a very crappy position because you're hungry and energy levels are low. And by not increasing your calories, bing, 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 this is the huge mistake. Not increasing your calories as you come out of a diet is going to lead to further prolonging those intense feelings of hunger and that overwhelming sense of fatigue. Now, if you go back to my story, let me grab a sip of water, hydrate. You should probably do the same. There I was, late June, barely eating any food. After my competition, we have the arbitrary example of 1,500 calories a day. 6, 8, 10 weeks later, I'm still eating 1,500 calories a day. By not gradually increasing my calories, I do not allow any of those diet-induced adaptations the opportunity to restore themselves. My body is stuck in a place of constant stress, still prioritizing conserving energy. And that means my metabolic rate stays low, my hunger stays high, my cravings stay high, and my energy stays low. Not a fun place to be, especially for a prolonged period of time. And the consequences, the two major consequences of not gradually increasing your calories as you come out of a dieting phase are as follows. Number one, you have a significantly increased risk for binge behavior. In hindsight, look at my weekly timeline I described to you. I nailed my diet plan 6 days a week, and then I had that big freaking free meal every Saturday. In hindsight, could I characterize that as a binge? Yeah, I was freaking killing calories in a short amount of time. And remember, this behavior repeated itself, and it made me fearful of ever increasing my baseline food intake because of the way the scale fluctuated and how I viewed that in terms of thinking I was going to lose my abs, veins, striation that I had worked so hard for so long. So the number one mistake leads to you having increased risk for binge behavior, and that is not a healthy nor a sustainable relationship with food. Chuck, welcome. Hope you're having a great Monday. Anywho, number two, a consequence of not gradually increasing your food intake as you transition out of that diet is you are never setting yourself up for another successful diet. If you're eating the same amount of food that you ended your diet on 8, 10, 12 weeks later, where the hell are you going to reduce calories from when you're ready to diet again? You know, you may have been told, oh, hey, take a little diet break, let everything reset. Well, that's great, but you need to gradually increase the number of calories you're eating per day. Because again, those 10, 12 weeks later, I was still eating 1,500 calories a day. Where am I going to reduce from? If I were to attempt to further increase cardio and decrease calories, let's say to 1,200, A, that becomes flirting with dangerously low. B, if I thought I was hungry and fatigued prior, could you imagine how hungry and fatigued I'm going to feel by further reducing calories? Yeah, talk about not sustainable. And guess what? That's going to even further increase the significant chance, or the likelihood rather, that I'm going to binge. You know, I'm going to break that diet and I'm going to break it freaking hard. Hello, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, and an all-you-can-eat buffet in one freaking evening. And again, we fall into that vicious cycle because I eat all that food, that scale jumps up, I'm fearful that my weight's going to continue to climb if I don't keep my calories low, but I'm never doing myself a favor and gradually increasing the baseline number of calories I'm eating every single day. Now, listen to this other enhanced version of the story, how it could have gone. Let's say I ended my last bodybuilding show eating 1,500 calories. The next week, I'm eating 1,650 calories. Completely arbitrary numbers, but just for ease of following the story. Okay, you know, energy levels start to pick up during the week. Hunger's still pretty high because remember, my food is still pretty low and exercise still fairly high. Hunger's just part of the equation at the tail end of the diet and the first few weeks when transitioning out of a diet. That should be expected. And lucky for you, Andreas, good to see you, my friend. Not see you, but you're here. I like that. Anywho, diet expectations when coming out of a diet, that's the whole topic for tomorrow. So don't worry, we'll dig into that tomorrow. But let's say I'm back to that 1,650 calories. My weight stays pretty stable. I don't have as strong of an urge to binge or have a huge free meal on the weekend. And all of a sudden, you know, my weight stays pretty steady. You know, in a week or two, I'm able to increase calories further to 1,800. At that time, I'm 3.5 weeks into this maintenance phase. My calories are significantly higher. Energy is feeling better every single day. Hunger is slowly dissipating, and any urge to binge is, you know, almost non-existent. Yeah, I want to enjoy myself a little, but rather than having 3 jars of peanut butter, I'm content with just one. An exaggeration. Seriously, please note that's an exaggeration. However, as you can see, gradually increasing your calories, oh, thanks Tony, I appreciate it. Gradually increasing your calories as you come out of a dieting phase sets you up for short and long-term success. It helps energy slowly increase and it crushes that hunger in the short term, and it helps to reduce the risk of ever having that urge or need to binge. You know, that is huge because you allow yourself to be removed from that vicious cycle I described. And that, ladies and gentlemen, again, I can't stress enough. If you're gonna transition out of a diet into a maintenance phase correctly and you want to diet again, you have got to increase your calories. Now, some of you are probably thinking, well, if I increase my calories, aren't I immediately gonna gain a bunch of body fat? No, not if you do it correctly. And luckily for you, I'm gonna walk you through that as we continue on with these videos this week and next week. But for now, I wanna leave you with this. I don't wanna throw too much out there. I wanna make sure that we have this, down pat and, walk away with application. And to summarize, the biggest mistake, the worst mistake, the number one mistake you can make when transitioning out of a diet is not increasing your calories in a gradual manner. To recap, why is this bad? Well, number one, hunger and fatigue, or hunger rather stays high, fatigue stays low, and you never give yourself an opportunity to restore and reverse those significant diet-induced adaptations that we discussed, mainly a significant attack from many angles of reducing the number of calories you burn per day. You stay accustomed to eating very little food, which puts you in a vicious cycle of wanting to binge. Then you become fearful of ever increasing food because of what the scale says after that binge-like behavior. And number two, you never set yourself up for long-term success because when you want to diet again in a couple months, you don't have any calories to reduce from. Seriously, where are you going to cut from if you're already eating 1,500 calories or less? I've worked with a lot of women who are already eating 1,200 calories, and it's like, hey, where are you going to reduce from? You want 3-digit calorie goals? Absolutely not. Not healthy, not safe, not sustainable. Good luck meeting your nutrient needs with that. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. If you liked the content, please hit the like button. It puts it in front of more people. If you find the content valuable, I would greatly appreciate it. And hey, if you know someone in particular, tag their name below, share this. I would greatly appreciate it if you share it. Be sure you stay tuned because Wednesday night, I'm going to talk about the mental and physical expectations to have when transitioning out of a dieting phase and into a maintenance phase. And I feel these are extremely important because if you know what to expect, you are better mentally prepared with how to handle it, and you significantly can reduce the amount of anxiety and stress you may have encountered had you not been prepared. Anywho, guys, have a great rest of the evening, and I'll see you on Wednesday.